Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another beautiful evening of DED or Dastardly EZ Dming. I'm your host, Joey, and if you don't know me by Season 2 now, go back and rewatch all of Season 1.
You must.
Because
It's a requirement at this point.
I
yes.
feel like you can't. You know, this is a canonical story. You're not going to
Yep.
understand it if you're starting off now.
You gotta miss all the plot twists. You
All
can't
the
miss out on
plot
that.
twists.
You
Yes.
can't miss out on the heel turns. Like
Yeah,
it's just,
I know.
oh.
I was tripping, getting crisscrossed and lost at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
It's a wild story. I'm telling you guys, you're missing out if you skip the first
it's got
season. That's all I'm
love,
saying.
it's got hate, it's got revenge, it's got everything.
You got treachery in it too.
Treachery indeed.
Treachery,
and
sir.
tons of dastardly deeds. So if you're new here, hello, I'm Joey. I'm a 15-year DM, and I've been doing this for a long time. And I'm here with my one of my best friends, and we talk about shitty stories that come, yes, from you, right to our door, and we read them and weep because we realize
normally
just
weep.
how awful.
There's normally tears by the end of most recordings.
Absolutely.
We just cut it out. We cut it out in editing. You guys don't catch it.
It's all in post, boys. All in post. But yes, I am joined by the beautiful, gorgeous, luxurious Antonio.
Hi guys, how's it going? Antonio here. I would hope you know the shtick by now. You know, player circling the DM pool. I still haven't fully dived into that. But and I'm goodness, Joe, I don't. Maybe I just off my game right now. I don't really feel like I have to go into my normal shtick. I think we just.
I think you just have to be. You just have to go watch season 1. I'm sorry. If you're starting here,
I have to go watch season 1, Joe.
Yeah, you have to go back and see season.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah. Come back when you're done. We'll wait.
Anyway. Yeah. Oh, it's only gonna be like 38 hours. That's fine.
Exactly. If you guys want to, we have tons of content beforehand, and you guys can go check that out as well as our other games that we play on DEG. We have a ton of stuff going on this holiday season, so I'm really excited to just kind of get out of the year now. We're ending it off, tying it in a nice bow, and sending it off to Santa Claus himself. So, yes, I have to say thank you guys so much for an awesome year. It's been great, and I hope at the end of it we can get some more things for next year, including more terrible, horrific stories. But for now, do you know what time it is, Antonio?
I'm guessing it's the shilling hour, Joe?
It's the shilling hour. So, if you haven't already heard me talk about my games, then what the hell? I mean, you probably... If you're here on regular...
Joe, to be fair, they're probably skipping the ads.
That's okay. It's alright. If you skip the ads, that's fine. I still care about you, don't you worry. But, so, for me and Antonio here at Patchwork Games, and now Patchwork Media. Ooh,
fancy.
Yes, since we do have our other show, A Delve Deeper, going on as well, which is my podcast about spooky, scary cryptids, aliens, hauntings, and more. So if you guys are interested in any of that or anything about me spieling about that, please go check out that channel on YouTube and Spotify as well. I, of course, have to say it's been a really cool year for us. We launched Reemergence to a successful backer kit. Yay. And we get to pat ourselves on the back for that and say, We did it. We finally did it after 4 years. And Antonio... Year 5 is coming up very quickly here in April, and it's going to be so much fun to have more games available for you guys. And if you do listen and you are a regular listener, I would love for you guys to shout us out, share the Discord, anything that you can. Helps us out a ton. And of course, you get to help out a small business and kind of get our feet wet with the DM pool, and hopefully one of our TTRPGs can be a successful one that will keep going for a long time. I plan to do this for the rest of my life until I'm 6 feet under, so you will see plenty of me. And whether or not I have 8 games at the end of it, that's none of your beeswax. But it is your beeswax if you want to buy it. Throw us a coin. Ooh, I do love money.
Oh my god.
So, if you guys ever want to go just donate $1 to us. You can get all our Dastardly EZ Dming content over on Patreon ad-free, where we cut out all this spilling BS and whatnot for you, so you can just listen to it spam-free. So, thank you guys so much that already are, and thank you for any future patrons that we have, because you guys are awesome, and everyone here is awesome, and we love you very much. Thank you very much for a very successful year for Patchwork Games. It's been wonderful with you too, Antonio.
Been alright with you, Joe. Been alright.
Yeah,
has ups and downs.
He's had. I've given him more than his daily rations of crackers today, and he's been a little ornery. Anyway, so that's gonna be all I have today. No W ad today.
No W ad today.
But
alright, fair enough.
We'll get back to W. Don't you worry. They're coming back. They're gonna make a comeback, a killing. But we're out of time for our chilling hour, and with that, Antonio, I have a top line that will throw you underneath the bus.
I don't know if I want to hear it, Joe. I don't know. Alright, give it to me. What is it?
My DM forced my PC to kill a beloved NPC and then blamed the death on me.
Nani? What?
Yes,
I'm sorry. All right,
Yeah.
let's dive in. I am. I don't even know how to process. I can't even process that. Right now.
I can no longer process the stories that we come across. If you watched our last DED of us having essentially a stroke together,
yep.
We only get better and better in this season, don't you? So this story has been floating around in my head for a while now, and I just want it out in the world. This story is from a couple years ago in a group I no longer play with, and the details were a little fuzzy, but I'm going to be going off of memory, but I'm going to try my best. So a little background. This group is online, and it was fully online. We used Discord and Roll20 and played with all cameras off. It was just us, our computers, and a dream. The DM had created the world and story, but we were using 5e rules. The lore and vibe were all over the place, and it really just what was their current hyperfixation, and how can they put it into, and how they could put it into D&D. I'm sorry, I also had a mini stroke recently, guys. I'm sorry. So I have no problem with that, as I kind of do the same thing when I DM, but it did make for some confusing world building. Which, let's talk about this, because I think this is also very important. For DMs that are, it already kind of spells out to me that it's like a DM that's new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because DMs that are new kind of have a hard time building story and keeping a consistent story. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, their current hyperfixation, and how can I put that into D&D, into my story with these people that are already playing? I get it, I understand, but at the same time, people, if you have a story, if it's like side quests or like side missions or anything like that, as long as it's relevant, that's okay. I have no problem with like side quests or off tracks or anything like that. Where it gets bad is when you're sitting there and you're like, okay, like, we've completely forgotten the plot of what was going on at this point. You know, it kind of sounds like that to me. Just within the first 2 paragraphs, it's like, it kind of already sounds that way. That it's like not really a railed story. It's kind of all over the place, up and downs. And so, for me, I just think GM advice that way, I would totally say, like, make sure you know what your story is before you play, and like work around it.
So you'd say know the end game, Joe.
Well, yeah, know your plot points, know your A through Z. Know your A through Z, and if there's little deviations between them, that's fine. But you always end up back at the next point, right?
Yeah. Yep, I have to agree. I got nothing else there for you, Joey.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a quick little thing there, but at the end of it, it just is something that I saw here. And
I thought it was a good tip to give that.
The story of the game revolved around us being first to forge this ultimate sword before an evil demon lord does. And basically, the story was a chosen story around one of the party members, not me, and we had to aid them in forging this sword to vanquish their evil dad. However, we got so sidetracked, it ended up having the same urgency as Skyrim's main quest.
Oh my god. Ooh.
That is not a good
No.
string of words to put together.
Nah.
If you have played Skyrim, you know exactly what that means, and that's pretty bad. But either way, kind of weird. I'm gonna kind of go into this a little bit already. It's a little weird. That's like it's a chosen one story.
So it's kind of focusing on one player then, right?
Yeah, on one player, and it's like, oh, the rest of you are there to aid them. It's like you're already hero spotlighting hard. Like you're just doing it blatantly, not even like subvertently.
And I'm wondering if like the one that's being focused on is like a friend, you know what I mean? Like, because again, more than likely, new DM,
a boyfriend,
right?
a girlfriend, a friend, a long time pal, whatever.
So more than likely, this is this homie, and they both kind of talked about this idea, got a great group together, and decided to just roll with this whole thing here, and I guess too. Then you have all these. I'm wondering where all the side quests come from. I'm wondering if that's like just other party shit that they're gonna do as well. Because
the side quest thing, like, doesn't bother me. Like I said, it doesn't bother me, but it's like when you say it's so sidetracky that you're like
that you're losing the plot altogether.
Again, like I just said, like if you're losing your plot line to side quest stuff, it just ruins the experience for me. Like the storytelling aspect is like it's no longer a story. Like like those little choose your own adventure books, like those are really good examples of like how a good story writer works. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of like a really good way of learning how to be a DM is to research those kind of books.
I never thought of it that way. I actually really dig not visual novels, just interactive.
Yeah, like choose your own adventure, or like really good at writing, because it's like you have to be. There's millions of different pathways and stuff. So like if you're ever down to like DM or whatnot, I would highly suggest reading one and kind of like going over it, reading it, seeing like what they can do, what things that happen and whatnot. And sometimes it's like easy, sometimes it's like stupid little kid ones. Even those, like, again, it's just the idea of knowing different things that can happen and just playing that out.
Well, not even just like playing it out, but also connecting it in a cohesive story as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's a lot of moving parts going on there. But yeah, the fact that they can do that and have it all make sense and like can tie it all together, and not only that, Joe, going even further with this point, having continued on in their other books and having those choices from the previous books. Man, I'm just saying. Again, I'm sorry. I know we're getting sidetracked.
They're fun, and they make good. Like I said, they make really good examples.
Yes. 100%. That's actually really good, Joe. I never thought about that. Like to sit there and actually kind of research, like kind of.
I grew up with a shitload of them as a kid.
Oh, dude.
So like,
yeah. No, I
like to say that some of my experience comes from that as well, because it's like knowing how a story is constructed can go a long way. And
definitely.
I know it sounds stupid and like, duh, knowing how to write a story is kind of part of it. It's like, I know, it sounds redundant and stupid, but it is true, and a lot of people don't do it.
Yes. Yeah. It is accurate. And some advice I actually recently heard from a friend that can help you with this too is maybe with your plot points, you're trying to get the party to get to that plot point, but they're kind of going all over the place, right? You can move the plot point to the location they're going to. It doesn't have
absolutely.
Like if you had I'm gonna keep this simple. If you had a mini boss fight, I'm just gonna call it that. If you had that type of fight, it's supposed to be in this swamp that they're gonna go to, but instead they sidetrack to this other area. You just move that boss into this new area, so they still experience that. You're not really railroading them. You're still giving them their agency, but you're also still continuing the story. Which can help
absolutely. And if like you're ever having trouble, like they're just off tracking so hard, instead of like, if you really need to, you can like kind of bend the story a little bit around. Is like what I like to say is like, if they're like, okay, you need to fight this lich to save the world, and then they just go goof off or whatever, and you're like, well, they're not gonna ever go get the lich. You could just say like the lich. So it's like the lich maybe changes the world. right? And so it's like, oh, it's no longer, we have to keep the Lich from destroying the world. Now he has destroyed the world, and you're living in a ruined state. So now it's your quest is no longer preventing that. It's we gotta fix this, you know. So like, you can shift your story a little bit here and there, and still like keep your enemies, your plot points, your stuff like that. Just like shifting that little bit. Like imagine you're running down a road of bandits, you know, you're doing your thing. It's like, oh well, you kind of subverted the whole Lich thing for like a month and a half in game. The sky turns green, and you see that the animals begin to transform into horrid beasts. You know, it's like, so you get this transform story like that pretty easily, as long as you know kind of what plot points you want to do, where you want to go at. So that's kind of my advice, is if you feel like that, go with Antonio's stuff first. If you really want to just keep the same story, I really like that. Just kind of like place it in different spots instead. But if you're trying to like make your party refocus up on something, on a main plot point, just make the world around them change because of it. Is usually what I like to do myself.
Okay. So that's not bad.
This story is this needs a lot of backstory, so here we go. I swear it's necessary to understand context.
Okay.
My character was a tiefling artificer who grew up in the cult of Asmodeus. They ran away when they were old enough to start adventuring. I love this character, and at some point my character had come across their old cult in the DM, and in the character of the old cult leader, he asked me to rejoin. I decided to say yes, why not? And had my character lead the party for a bit to rejoin this cult. It wasn't the best thing I could have done in hindsight, and I do take accountability that I didn't stop and ask the DM if I could do this rather than just going ahead. However, in the days after that session, we took a little break, and during that time, the DM and I worked out what my character would do during this time skip, and what rejoining the cult for a bit meant for him. I decided my character would have definitely had enough of the cult, and would try to leave. The DM got excited at this prospect and wanted to have a one-on-one session outside the scheduled time. We were online, so this was possible. And in that session, my character somehow ended up getting in a one-on-one meet with Asmodeus, where it was revealed I was his great-grandchild, and he thought the current cult was taking his name in vain. He offered a pact to lend me his power to take down the cult and be able to finally escape, once and for all. I accepted this pact and multi-classed into Warlock. I was pretty stoked for this. Characters taking on Warlock levels happen more times than it should in the group's games, so I was excited I could have a little Artificer be one of those Warlock multi-classes. Also, I was a level higher than the party, so that was pretty cool, and after that the party meets back up with my character in a way that wasn't really satisfying, but that's another story, who now leads the sect of the cult. My character leaves the cult to fend for itself and rejoins the party.
I mean, already there, I'm kind of... One thing I'm noticing is, like, okay, now we have a player that's technically stronger than the rest of his party. Or the rest of their party.
Well, there's a lot of, like, hero spotlighting, like you said.
Yeah, and, again, probably new DM. Probably new. And, so this is just, like, a mistake that you can make, right? Because I think one thing you don't want to do, and I'm pretty sure we talked about this more than once, Joe, is you don't want people at different levels in the same party. That's not gonna turn out well for you. It's very difficult to balance that.
I do say this with wholehearted shill. In Reemergence it wouldn't matter. But anyway, in D&D, Pathfinder,
shameless.
And I have no shame whatsoever. Buy Reemergence, play it, play it with your friends, play with us, please. I need more friends. Anyway, so like in D&D, Pathfinder, all sorts of different TTRPGs, including like Vampire Masquerade and whatnot, having a higher level person just never turns out the way you fucking want it to. It's always a pain in the goddamn ass. And usually that person having an extra level means they have an extra 15 HP points or something. An extra spell that everyone just like can't access, and it just completely... You have to accommodate by increasing your enemies' level, and increasing their health, and increasing their damage, and increasing their AC, increasing this, and increasing that, and increasing this. Or giving them just higher level things to fight. But the thing is that you still have a party of lower levels. So the problem starts is like you have higher level enemies for lower level players, which doesn't always pan out the way it should. Which is just one thing out of this I don't like. The other thing I will say I did care about this, and I do think it was a good thing on the DM. Not gonna bash him forever, but the one thing I do like is that the DM actually was like, hey, do you want to do a one-on-one session where we can just kind of like talk and do this and play the game a little bit for your character, and like pulling them aside, talking to them about it. Like, that I'll give them that. Like, they took the time out of their day to definitely do that and make it something like really, really cool, really, really awesome. And like, it did increase the game's enjoyability for this player, which I'll give them that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. There's a time skip. So, I imagine the party was doing something during this time skip. So why not just have the entire party just level up at that point?
That's what I would have definitely done, just for continuity's sake.
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment, it just doesn't seem like it really helped them out this much.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't really care for the whole rest of it. But like I said, I'll give them props for making the game enjoyable for someone.
Yeah, fair enough.
By giving them like their own session and doing their own stuff like that. But fast forward a couple sessions, and we're in an interdimensional mansion meeting with two important NPCs discussing the fate of the world regarding the all-powerful sword. It is established that my character communicates with their patron through their mechanical arm, which carries a demonic red energy in the cogs and wiring. Aesthetics are very important to me. Quote. This communication lets Asmodeus spy on me, I think, but also acts as my character's arcane focus for their warlock spells. Well, actually, it was the arcane focus for the artificer and warlock spells, and it was a hidden gun too. It was pretty important for her to keep around, and I was just going along with the things, trying to make sense of the story and lore, when suddenly a demon came crashing through the wall and started attacking everyone. I don't remember if we roll initiative, but it wouldn't have mattered as we were way too underleveled for this fight.
Oh, no.
This DM describes our attacks barely doing anything, and I try to shoot the demon when my character, I think, fails a saving throw and is knocked unconscious as she's thrown against the wall. And before anything else happens, the DM describes the arm glowing brighter and my character starts moving. She quickly charges into battle, scaring off the demon, and it becomes apparent she's possessed by Asmodeus. I ask if I could do something here, but the DM says I can't do anything. In all the chaos, one of the NPCs helping us had died. I think from the demon attack, but I can't be sure. As my character comes to, the surviving NPC immediately blames her for the attack, saying that bringing the arm with the power of Asmodeus into the interdimensional mansion alerts the big bad evil guy to his location. He angrily sends us away and the session ends. The party, in character, gets mad at me for causing his death, and I keep repeating I had no idea that this would happen. As far as I knew, I was never told this specific thing would ever happen with this specific NPC would die because of it. Which, this is like the big meat of it, which...
Joe, maybe it's just me. I don't...
I don't hate it.
Yeah, no, I'm of the same mindset. Like, I don't hate it. The execution maybe could have been a little bit smoother, but overall... I'm not hating the twist, I gotta be honest with you.
I like the twist. I think it should have just been something like, hey, are you cool if I control your character during this?
It should have, again, this is probably, again, new DM, didn't think about it, but yes, you should definitely be communicating with the player if you plan to take
definitely. It's like, that's such a cool, that could have been a very cool moment, right? Instead it just kind of came out very jarring, very...
Yes.
Okay, what the fuck was that? And then everyone's mad at you and whatnot, and everyone's saying stuff, and it's like, dude, come on, all you had to do is just be like, hey, are you cool if I use your character?
Literally 5 minutes of time, like 5 minutes of corresponding between you and this player.
Dude, not even that, 30 seconds, right? Hey, Antonio, do you mind if I, like, take control of your character?
No, can you see, Joe, at this point, I'm going to monologue like an old Shakespearean actor as you type me this, and I'm going to type you back, and it's going to take me, like, 4 minutes and 30 seconds to type back to you.
I know, Antonio. But
so that's why the 5 minutes.
I love how immediately we're like, well, they're going to be like under-leveled for the fight with the bot, and then like immediately after, it's like, we were way too under-leveled for this fight. And I'm like, oh really? That's fucking funny.
So shocking, right? Just yeah, but again, I guess it's for this whole plot reveal. So again, I don't hate it. I just some communication with the player just would have like straightened the soul out. And the player would have been in on it, and it definitely would have been a much cooler moment than have it be how
It would have been something that was like a lot more fun in
Mhm.
my head, because like I think the idea is really cool.
Yeah.
Like having like that moment of like we can't do anything against these guys, blah blah blah. Like that can be really fun if you play it right.
Yes.
Right. Like knowing that you have to run, like because I think people forget that that is an option in a tabletop role playing game. Like running is not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a necessary thing.
Yes.
Like, I mean, when we were playing Paradigm that one time, it was like, there was just hordes and hordes and hordes coming towards you, and you're like...
at that point, you're just like, fuck this, dude. Like,
we can't take that on. You're
no.
we're out of here, dude.
Yeah, at some point, you just gotta know when to fold and get out of there. It's just, it is what it is. It doesn't mean... And I think this brings up a decent point here, Joe, and where I think I definitely like milestone more than XP is because I feel like if there's XP involved, it's really tempting. It's really hard to run away
XP
from
makes dumb decisions.
Yeah, it's kind of like shopping when you're hungry. It's like, I really shouldn't get that bag of like Pringles chips, but I'm really hungry. And then the next thing you know, you're spending $300 at the grocery store. Now, what I'm getting at here is like, it's just you don't make the best decisions when there's like incentive like that being left on the table. That's why I like milestone a little bit more. Because guess what? If you run away,
it doesn't affect you. Right?
It's gonna affect the game maybe in some way, but as far as you, the player,
it's like as far as like okay, like imagine that was something that you guys tried to fight, right? It'd be like, oh, more than likely you'd probably die, right? And the thing is like, oh, you ran. Like, what if that horde went towards the nomad camp that you were protecting for some time?
Yeah, I mean, that'd fucking suck.
It's like you should have repercussions.
Yes.
Or something happened to where it's not like, oh, we just ran, it's fine. Like, it shouldn't be like a fucking Pokemon run away and nothing happens.
Yeah, no, there should be consequences.
Yeah, there's got to be some consequence to it and whatnot, but
that, I mean, it gives the world stakes when you do it.
It gives it a breath of life. Where it's like this thing is a living being. You have to remember that your stories are alive. Like, I've played games where the stories are, like, they're just kind of robotic. They're moving parts. Where, like, making a story for me is something that's, like, a breathing world. Right? Because, like, if you're playing on the moon of Thalamus for our Saturday game, for instance, for Reemergence, like, if you guys are like, oh, well... Because at the moment you guys are stranded there, right?
Right.
But if you were like, I want to explore the moon a little bit more, like what's around it, and it's like maybe on scanners that you guys have had for months, you kind of know that this is kind of desolate. There's not a lot of stuff here. There's some creatures, so you guys have been able to survive off of that. Blah, blah. Like there's stuff there that's like I could mold it into like a breathing world for you to understand. Versus, like, we go here, we do this, we have this happen, this happen,
have it be Bold Against 3, essentially.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Which I do like the DM in this situation. They're not terrible. They seem inexperienced, and I wouldn't say that they're dastardly for sure. But I would say that like they just have a lot of stuff that's like new DM. Breaking in the boots, that kind of stuff. But
and I get at this point, I know we're kind of dragging here, guys, but I do think one other good point is like, hey, players on the table, just don't be afraid to talk to your DMs, especially your new DMs, and give critical feedback, but don't be an asshole about it. Like, it's good to give feedback to DMs. Just don't be a jerk about it.
Well, I think one of the main things, too, is, like, Antonio, me and you have spent so much fucking time playtesting games and doing everything for our business. Having a Pathfinder 2e game with Joe feels interesting. It feels like, we haven't done this in a long time.
Yeah.
To where, like, the world is built and there's story that's, like, constructed and already, like, cemented together. And there's, like, a system that we're not like, oh, well, what if this happens, like, no, this is here, this is together, right? So, like, we're, even with Reemergence, I would say that too, like, we're still kind of building the worlds as we're going, we're still writing stuff for it, and building worlds and building stuff like that, but, like, it's the same thing, like, I think it's a breath of fresh air for us, definitely, but it's like, that to me is the interesting portion of it, where it's like, we get into such a mode of, we're pretty much working, so like for us, like, it's like work and we're having fun doing it, but it's like also like hard for me to, for us to just build it and have fun, which I would love to eventually, by the way, get you guys together and get everyone together and try to like get some people playing Reemergence into an actual campaign with us, like just a straight campaign. I think it'd be a lot of fun. But anyway, my point with that was just like, if your stories, their fluidity and everything just really matters when it comes to having plot points. We kind of touched on this earlier. Those plot points matter. The things that you do matter. And if you need to tell someone, hey, this is not really working, or it's not really like my thing, or like we're kind of going into this weird territory where I feel like I can't control my character very often. I feel like that's not a bad thing to state, because if you can't, you're like, Joey, I feel like you're kind of railroading my character a little bit. Kind of like, like, I know that you were saying that you were forcing my character to do X, Y, Z, and I was cool with it, but it's like you're kind of taking it too far. Like, I'd be like, oh, okay, my bad.
Yep.
I'll just stop doing that. Don't worry. And like, it's like, oh, I'll let you know beforehand, and we'll talk about it more. Stuff like that. So like, most DMs that I've seen are pretty open to stuff like that. Some of them aren't. Some of them are narcissistic in nature, and we have seen that a lot, but
yes, we have.
It's really, really interesting to just read this and kind of go over all that in this kind of shorter story, but still has so much useful information in it, regardless. Because for the last tidbit here, Antonio, in the following sessions, whenever those two NPCs are brought up, and it's a lot because they're integral to reforging this sword, my character gets blamed for that death. And it's not a simple teasing, though. It was an NPCs getting mad that I had the audacity to bring my arcane focus around with me and causing the death of an NPC we had been spending weeks trying to meet. And at the time, I didn't want to tell the party how much it bothered me because I didn't want to be a spoil sport. And really, a small part of me tried to accept that it was deserved punishment for my character's actions. The excuse the DM had was something along the lines of evil power attracts more evil power, and you accepted the pact with an evil demon lord, so bad things are going to happen. And I don't know who's in the right or wrong here. I still can't make up my mind if I was deserved punishment for my character's actions, or if the DM had a very specific plot point in mind and hand of God their way of it. I think the Warlock Pact was a massive character moment for my PC, but it was very much spoiled by any future events. And in this case, this won't be my last post here, as I have many more horror stories to share from this group. Damn. But that's one of the ones, like, at the end here, like, the thing that kind of bothers me a little bit is, instead of saying, like, okay, I can agree with the DM, like, if you accept evil power, evil things happen.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's like, that's a fair assumption.
But you think he's taking it too far with, like, every NPC they're meeting after that kind of, like, give this guy the business?
Yeah, it should be like, I don't think it would be like they're getting mad and like, oh, you had the audacity to bring that with you. It's like, I think I'd be like, all the NPCs in the room seem kind of like wary of you.
Yeah, which I think is fair.
Like, that's like a light thing. Like, you can say things without saying it out loud. And I think that goes for, like, NPC building. Right? Because it's like, when you're building characters for non-player characters to go and interact with, it's like, I don't feel like that would be very real. Like, unless it's like, okay, these dudes are like, there's 4 of them max, and you killed one of the 4 of them, and the 3 of them are like, dude, why the f are you bringing that here? Like, that caused the death of that guy. Like, can you leave it outside or something? Like, an understandable reason would be like if it's a small group of them, but it's like NPC after NPC after NPC after NPC. is what they're saying. So it's like, that's kind of hard to like. It's kind of a small form of bullying. I don't know how to explain it really. Like otherwise, it's kind of like
say you're wrong.
I get it. On the one hand, I'm like, okay, I understand. I understand because it's like, yeah, if you accept evil powers, evil things usually tend to happen. But at the same time, it's like, should it be eternal punishment for a character to do so?
Yeah. No. Again, I'm with you here on having like the subtle, like wary glances in their direction, maybe, but to have like the NPC. Because here's the thing, too, Joe, that you have to realize, like if I'm just average Joe Schmo here, sitting in this tavern, and I see this dude come in, and like I know what I know. Do you really think they're gonna sit there and walk up to him and like, start to bully him?
Well, imagine I go up to you, I have no idea who you are, and you're like, "Oh my God, is that the hand of Asmodeus?"
Yeah, yeah,
and just like spit on me. I'm like, bro,
like for one, too, like if you have that, I'm just thinking from like the perspective
it's almost comical.
Yes, because like, who the fuck's gonna do? Like, the average person's not gonna do. If they know you have that item on you and they can see it, they're probably just
random farmhand comes up and he's like, "Oh, you sick fuck!" Throws cow shit at you. You're like, bro, who are you?
My point is, Joe, the average person probably isn't gonna do that, right? The average person's just gonna give him a wide berth and that's it. They're not gonna fling cow feces at the dude.
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. But, like, that's like the kind of shit that I imagine is happening at the moment. He's like goes into a bar and the barkeep's like, "Ugh, the hand of Asmodeus, huh?" Spits in his drink, and you're like, man.
Oh no. Just something
that I was.
God,
it couldn't escape my brain when I was thinking about that. I was like, dude, you can't have every NPC coming up and have the audacity to like bring up his arcade focus like that and be like, what? Did you kill him in the middle of a small town or something? Like, come on, dude, Jesus. So like, well, okay, if that was the case, I'm not going back to that town.
Right, you're gonna. All right, let's get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah,
get out of there.
And like I said, it's just like one of those things where I'm like, it's a little too much. Okay?
Yeah,
like a little too much on my part. Now, for the DM saying that, I think it's justified, but I don't know if I would put it that way, where it's like, evil power attracts more evil power, and you accepted the fact with evil demon lords, so of course bad things are gonna happen. So it's like, it kind of sounds like they're like talking to them like they're stupid.
Yeah.
It's like, I wouldn't talk to them like they're stupid. I'd be like, well, hey, you kind of knew that Asmodeus is like a bad, evil demon. You kind of accepted its power. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to say you're dumb, but it's like, like, you should know that you did. What did you expect? Like rainbows and sunshine and shit? Like, no.
You're making a pact with a demon. It's not gonna be, like you said, Joe, rainbows and sunshine. It's not gonna happen.
Well, like I said, it's one of those things that's like, it's cool, and I love the premise, I love the idea, and I don't think the DM's too much at fault. Same with, like, I think this one is just chalked up to, like, being newer, being more or less educated on being a DM, or, like, have the experience.
Yeah, it sounds like
even with the player, I also think, like, you jump the gun kind of, like, a little bit with the cult thing. And then when you're why did cult things happen to me? It's kind of like it's a little bit on both ends, I think. I think the camel burn
a little 50-50.
Where it's like, okay, like, and even they were like, well, I probably jumped the gun on that one, and, I should have thought more about my actions on the character stuff with that. Well, it's like, yeah, I mean, I would have definitely been like, as a DM, I think I would have also told them, like, hey, if you're going to do this, there's going to be some things that might happen I need you to be aware of.
Yeah.
And that's about all the difference I would do with that, for sure, because I just wanted to, like, bring it up a little bit, just because I think it's important. But I don't hate on anybody here. I think everybody's doing their
No,
best.
we should hate on everyone.
You're
Joe.
right. Antonio,
Hate
fuck
everybody.
you.
Joe, fuck you.
Thank you. I shall. Yeah, but so like I said, like the whole story here for me is just like burning on both ends. Like,
yeah.
I think it's a communication between player and DM, not only just the DM with player.
Yeah, it should be.
It's like maybe as a player you could have been like, hey, what are the repercussions of this if I do this? You know, cause like as a DM, we want to keep some secrets and like some stuff for you to play around with, and like still have mystery and with like fun. You know, cause that's part of the fun is like not knowing.
Definitely.
But it's like, I still think there should be like that little line can't be broken of like, well, what is going to happen to my character? Like the blackout things. Like I hate blackout moments. I think they're cliche. Sorry, everyone. Where somebody just like blacks out and they're like, he wakes up, he's coated in hundreds of goblin limbs. You're like, okay, dude. Like edgelord moment much. Alright, dude. It's like, I understand, it can be fun, it can be interesting, but I also think it's just bad for the player and bad for the DM, because like, you're giving someone control of your character, and they're not playing your character, so like, I always feel weird about taking control of other people's characters.
Yeah.
Because it can be like, unless you know the person really well, and you know how their character's played really well, and you've talked to them about it, it can work, but like, just taking over, like, if I took over Talia, I have no clue what Talia would do.
Yeah, no, that is 100%
Or vice versa, like, if you took over Guy, you could make good assumptions of what I would do. You'd be like, oh, like, Guy is gonna try to force his sermon on some people.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I know that Talia is like, oh, if there's somebody in trouble, Talia is probably gonna go save them. You know, like, there's basic traits you can understand, but deep down, like, everything else about the character is kind of like, you don't really know. Like, even you, like, I haven't told you everything Guy is going towards.
Sorry.
And so it's like, again, one of those things where I just think it needs to be talked about, needs to be talked with the DM, and I think it's partially on the player to kind of ask, like, is this going to be anything that's going to, like, really overturn something or whatnot?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. This is definitely a 50-50 situation. And you know what, though? I will say this, Joe. There was no one dastardly in this story. I would say. Again,
I don't think so. And I think the title is also kind of misleading because it's like, oh my god, you know, it's like kind of like explosive.
I thought this was going to be like DM Power Trip, like just DM goes completely crazy type deal, but not really. Like, again, you know, poster, not to run on your parade here, but I'm just saying the title was a little misleading and I want my money back. That's all I'm saying.
I want my money back.
I paid for admission into this show and I feel like I got ripped off. I'm just saying. So get back to me on that and we'll talk. Reach out to me on Discord. It'll be okay. Anyways, but yeah, Joe, I think we're done here, right? Is there anything else we need to go over with it?
Not really, man. There's not even any comments that are like...
Oh, well? No comments worth mentioning?
Nope. Most of them are like, it's your fault, it's your fault. I'm like, okay.
Nah.
I don't think so. I think
it's
people
50-50.
I think people are taking it out of context, personally. Yeah. Where it's like, okay, like, first off, you gotta remember, too, this guy, okay, years ago.
Yes.
The story from years ago, I mean, when we had Keith on here, it was the same thing. It was like, he told us a story from ages back, when he was like in high school or something, right? And I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Which, he's an older aged man, fine like wine, you see, but so, I'm just saying, with some of this, like, some of the new stuff, I think it's really interesting to see, like, so many people that have gotten into D&D, which I'll touch on this a little bit. I think it's been really interesting to see the newer generation of people get into D&D, because we're seeing, like, it's kind of like like, there's like a while back, but like 4 or 5 years ago, it kind of influxed again with the COVID thing, and like a flush of like these stories came out during that time. and it's like we're kind of getting back into that age where it's coming again, like over again. So it's like every 5 or so
COVID's
years.
coming again, Joe? We're going to shut everything down again?
Yes, absolutely. It's COVID. I'm saying,
guys,
like, the D&D
stock
people.
up on snacks.
Antonio, grab your toilet paper, grab it. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, well, Antonio, you know the Pope's portals are getting open this Christmas Eve, so
yeah, I know. I heard about that.
so we're getting Pope's portals. We got drones. We got all sorts of stuff, but that's on a delve deeper. We're not on there today. So, but yeah, all that stuff. Like I see it happen every like 5-ish years. It's where like all of a sudden there's like a flood of RPG horror stories that are like all bad. It's none of the lighthearted shit. It's like starting to happen again here, where it's like every few stories there's like a lighthearted one, but most of them are like medium size, long size, and it's like, oh, I just played with a new DM. Oh, I just played with a new DM, and this new DM did this and this and this. It's like it's kind of interesting to see because it's like sometimes I wonder to myself about it. Right, like with Blue and them, and like thinking about their stories, and I'm like, these people are saying that they've been a DM for 30 plus years, and it's like, if you were a DM for 30 plus years, you wouldn't be doing the things that you've done.
Yeah.
Shout out season 1, episode 14, by the way. Anyway, so
you on a roll today, sir.
I don't know, but so it's just been like interesting to think about in terms of like how we have a new generation come in, and then they start playing, and then they realize like not everyone is a good DM or a good player, just based on like some of them we have that are just like really bad people in general.
Yeah.
Not just like, I mean, we've talked about some serious stuff on here too, with even involving like police and stuff like that. So
that was fucking insane.
So it's interesting to hear these stories and then see like the outcomes of them and stuff like that, because it does bring back to me like I'm glad I grew up playing the game when I did with the people that I did. It did make the game feel better for me. It made the game feel like it was actually like an enjoyable experience for me. And I'm glad that I was there to actually play with you, Antonio, and like teach you and be there as like the DM for you and give you a good experience at first, compared to like if you had started D&D with like, you know, our buddy
with Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, well, not even that. Like if you had started with like one of those DMs that likes hardcore stuff, and like I feel like that would have ruined your experience entirely.
Oh, like, yeah, most definitely.
You probably wouldn't have played.
If you came to me next time like, hey, I tell you want to play some D&D? I'm like, nah, bro, I ain't into all that. But thank you, I appreciate it. I would just be like, I'm good. So yeah, no, that is 100% fair.
That's just the thing that I was thinking about. Honestly, the other day, it was like, it just does make me grateful that I grew up and played the game with some really good people, some really fun people, enjoyable groups, and like I have good memories from that, and we have good memories together, me and you, of playing with our own friends and making friends and long time partnerships, stuff like that. Like we have some good standing and good ground to stand on that way, where like since there's thousands of these stories, I just want to reiterate that it's like these are still like a dime a dozen. You know, they're not as often as you think, and I know that you guys hear us come on here every week or week and a half and so, and it's like we come on and tell you like a horrific story, but at the end of the day it really does come down to like, if you don't enjoy the game that you're playing, don't play it. Get out of there, find a different group. Because there's a group for everybody. Even the people that are fucking assholes or whatever, and they're just weird or devious, there is some groups for you to play in. There's a place for everybody, and sometimes I think those places get mixed up, and this is where all these come from. But I do want to say, if you're listening to this out of pure enjoyment and you're just like trying to get into D&D, or you're trying to get into something, don't get scared off by the amount of stories that we read or the amount of things that we say. It's not every day this happens. Like, you know, like the first group you get into, it's not going to happen to you like a solid 90% of the time. We have tons of friends that we talk to about this stuff all the time, and we get together in our Discord and everything and talk to them. But a lot of the times it's not anything really big. So yeah, I just wanted to take that spiel out of the way and just say it because I think a good breather and reminder that like these are just stories meant to be fun, for us to joke around with, meant for us to kind of like talk on and give advice. But it's like at the end of the day, if you are planning to play, please do. If you're gonna be a DM, please do. You know, we need more DMs. We need more people that are going to be great at DMing and great at understanding people. And if you are a genuine human being, you'll be good at DMing. Don't worry. Like, as long as you care about your table and you don't, like, get God complex, you'll be fine. But that's about all I have, Antonio.
Yeah, all right. I think good then, Joe. Let's wrap this thing up. Any parting words we have to go over here, Joe?
Yeah, I want to say, look forward to Parasitic Paradigm coming out. Should be here soon. We just got finished up with our finishing touches and everything. We're just gonna give it a little makeup, slap it on the ass, and send it out. So we're ready to get that stuff out, and we're ready to get Kaiju Okesu going. We're gonna have more stuff for you guys later this year. This next year is gonna be a big year for us. We plan on doing a lot, getting a lot out there for you guys, and doing a lot of things to get us growing. And to all you out there that do listen, thank you. Please share this with your friends. Share it with your mom. Share it with your dad. I don't know. Share it with your dog. Something, you know.
Or
it
cat,
helps out.
Or cat.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know about your cat. Your cat might not care. They're usually kind of like, eh. Don't want to, you know.
I still listen to it. Maybe I think it's an interesting listen, Joe.
Maybe he will. Maybe he will. Maybe he's one of the evil DMs, and we just don't know it.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly.
But if you guys want to do that and share this anywhere you can, it really helps us. Of course, go check out our games if you guys are interested. We have guest edits in our Discords, which is patchworkgames.com/media. Yes, I listen to the feedback. I listen to it, and yeah, you guys, I got rid of the Discord in my Discord, so thanks very much for that. You bullied me into it, you heartless bastards. But yeah, thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. And Antonio, with that, remember DMs, stay dastardly.